Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Raine.
And I'm Kaiser Soze.
It was Kaiser Soze the whole time?
It wasn't.
Oh my god.
Oh!
I can't believe this.
I can't believe I haven't done that one yet. Go ahead.
Welcome back to the show, everyone.
And it was the most obvious choice.
I know. We have a very special guest with us. My mom is back on the show. We know how everyone loved the Tombstone episode. Seriously, we actually did get a lot of good feedback on the Tombstone episode.
Good to know.
And so when I told Mom of the movie that we were doing, she pretty much demanded that she needed me on.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I bullied you into letting me be on the episode.
It's all right. But before we get into it...
Story of your life, right, Raine?
That's all right. But before we get into it, so Jeremy, you got to tell the people the masterpiece that we watched, that we made our friend group watch last night.
We've mentioned it on the show before, I'm sure, because
for sure.
You guys keep bullying me for liking this movie so much. We watched a B movie last night. The B movie, of course, Jerry Seinfeld's master. It's better than Seinfeld. His masterpiece. Listen, all jokes aside, I genuinely love this movie. I enjoyed puns, and then Alex blew my mind.
I was gonna say Alex blew our minds last night.
That all of the lady bees have beehive haircuts and all of the men bees have buzz cuts. Boom. See, this movie's got layers. This movie's very nuanced. And it's
and it also has a vocal cameo from the late great Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta. See, it's Ray Liotta's best movie also.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so we just needed to share that we watched. It was.
And
great.
ladies and gentlemen, this is what millennials love.
Yeah. I never said I loved this movie.
Coming from a Gen Xer.
Like
millennials love B movie. I'm okay with
my work. Like that movie has a suicide joke in it. It's a kids movie and it has a suicide joke in it. Like anyway.
You understand the counselor, the teenage counselor in me is like, don't talk about it, Raine.
Oh yeah, don't worry. He'll censor himself like he did.
No, you deserve the censor, and that's a story that I will not retell on mic because then I'll have to censor you again.
Down with censorship, man. It's ridiculous. It's the one place.
Anyway, well, so. Since it's also been a week since the last episode, because Jeremy had to go out of town again. In case you forgot, we are discussing 2019's Uncut Gems. Again, if you've been following the theme, this is my pick. I had not seen this movie, so I'm the only one here who this was my first time seeing it.
Oh, and as we always. When one of us hasn't seen it, we open with, what'd you think?
I mean, it was great, man. I've seen Good Time. Good Time was awesome. This movie definitely wasn't as anxiety ridden as Good Time, because Good Time starts and you're already on the edge of your seat and it does not let up.
Not agreeing with you.
But Uncut Gems, I felt like it was the last 45 minutes. I was the most anxious.
Oh my God, Mickey is so mad at you.
There's so much to say right now.
But that's not to say I hated it. No, I loved it. I thought it was great. Adam Sandler was robbed.
Agreed.
So Adam, if you're listening, I mean, I know he's listening. You were robbed, my man.
He and I
won Best Actor that year? Do you guys know?
Who won Best Actor that year?
2019, right?
It was 2019.
2019. Didn't Parasite win Best Picture?
No, but
Correct me if I'm wrong.
2018, wasn't it?
2018. Damn. God. Thank you, COVID-19, for fucking up my timeline. Best Actor.
Well,
So Rami Malek.
Oh,
I
Rami
was just about
Malek.
to say, was
Yeah,
it
for
was it Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah.
I mean, okay. I know Jeremy, did you see Bohemian Rhapsody?
I did.
Okay. I know you had your opinions on it, but I mean, look, listen, no offense to Rami, but it definitely should have gone to Al.
I
100%.
agree.
Adam was completely out of his wheelhouse. Of course, I'm the only one here who hasn't seen Punch Drunk Love. But I loved that he just killed it. He just killed it the whole time. And you really, I don't know. But to answer your question, Jeremy, yeah, I really liked it. It just I wasn't as anxious as I was watching Good Time.
May I interject?
Yes.
So I heard you say that you've not seen Adam Sandler in a role of this nature except for Punch Drunk Love, but what about the Meyerowitz stories?
I've started it. I haven't finished it.
Okay.
Because I do love Noah Baumbach.
So let's just give him some props. I mean, the man has some dramatic chops.
I would say.
Did you hear that, Raine? Jeremy, did you hear that, Raine?
I did.
Okay, thank you. You just need to be acknowledged.
Even in Big Daddy, I think that he had some dramatic.
There were some moments, yeah, and maybe that was the precursor to all of this dramatic stuff that he can do. Yeah. Like he's got a range. You know how we say that, like actors or stand-up. Like, let's look at Robin Williams for a minute. He's an Academy Award winner. God rest his soul. But he had a range. Like, his stand-up. You've seen his stand-up from back in the day when he was a coke-riddled stand-up comedian, all the way to The Life According to Garp, one of my favorite films. I have to be honest. Work with me, Jeremy. I know you've got this. Carpe Diem, Good Will Hunting,
Dead Poet Society.
Dead Poet Society.
1 hour photo.
The man had a range. So why not Adam Sandler?
Do you think people had this idea of him because of all the, not all of them, but a lot of the really bad comedies he's done, like Jack and Jill?
I wouldn't call them bad. The only bad comedy that man's ever done is Little Nicky. Just stand down, suckers. Stand down.
It was Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill was his worst movie. Well, and coincidentally, speaking of Adam's range, as we looked up last night, the only comedy he did after this was Hubie Halloween, and then he did Hustle, which Jeremy and I
excellent.
Well, I haven't seen it yet, but Jeremy and I looked it up and we saw that it's crushing right now.
It's rated really highly and
super feel good. Right in his alley with regard to who he is, the essence of who we know Adam Sandler to be, that real relaxed kind of guy. We know he loves basketball in his personal life, and so you can really see that passion in this character. So yeah, definitely check it out.
But yeah, so let's get going with Uncut Gems. Jeremy, would you like to give us a synopsis?
Sure. Now I will say, to piggyback off of Hustle, in a different way, we can see his love and passion for basketball in this movie, which is a little bit of a different spectrum. Which again brings on a lot of the anxiety and a lot of the tension. But okay, so the synopsis really is as simple as this film is about a man trying to succeed and be successful, and trying to provide for him and his family the best way he can. And the best way he can is the worst way possible, which is gambling and finding shortcuts. This man doesn't want to do it the normal way. This man he is he's almost he embodies, he's the personification of a gambling addict. In this film in such a unique way and in such a real, visceral way. But in doing so, he buys this opal from Ethiopia and shows it to a very prominent basketball star, Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett wants it. He can't sell it, of course, because he is going to sell it at auction for what he thinks is going to be over $1 million. And with some sort of verbal contract, he lets Garnett take it. Garnett holds it for too long. He owes a mile-long list long of people. He owes them money, right? And so we have people asking for money over here and then asking people for money over here. He's still dealing with the auction people. He is trying to still work at the jewelry store that he runs, and then he's still trying to get the opal back from Kevin Garnett, and then he finally gets the opal back. And then listen, it's impossible to do a proper synopsis without just diving right in, but I will say that I don't even want to touch the ending yet until we get there.
No, not at all.
But it does all culminate in a very cathartic ending for our character at first. Or you could argue forever that he finally got his catharsis and never gets to let that go. And finally a final victory for him, which is something that he has been really lacking throughout most of the film, but that's sort of convoluted. There was also a weird love story in there with his mistress. So let's go ahead and
who works for him.
So with that, Jeremy, do we just should we just start with the character of Howard?
I mean, that's gonna be 6 hours, but yeah, let's do that.
All right. Mom, I want you to take this one. Because you definitely seem like you have a love, especially for this character. So I'll let you lead us into who Howard is.
So, with no disrespect to any people who are in our lives, Raine, who have an addiction, Howard was really relatable to me, just simply because of the addiction that he has to gambling and high stakes living that he's not even aware of. But to circle back, do we have a moment to talk about a little bit of symbolism in that opening shot? Okay. So the credits are still rolling on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, and we're watching these Ethiopians bringing one of their comrades up out of this mine. Everybody's up in arms. And when we finally get to the place where we're figuring out what's happening, we see this man who's got this horrible wound on his leg. And we're thinking that that's what the situation is, that everybody's up in arms about this man being wounded. And I don't know if you know anything about blood diamonds, but this really is good symbolism. I feel like from the very beginning through the whole entirety of the movie, there's just so much symbolism that happens here. But blood diamonds, just to kind of just give a quick and dirty what I understand of it to be, that Ethiopians and others mine these diamonds, but they're willing to die, or not willing to die, but they do die because they get paid, what you and we both know, all of us know, is not a livable wage, but they die for these things. They're blood diamonds. We mine these diamonds. We're selling them at huge prices while these people who are mining them are dying for them. Blood diamonds. Same situation with the opal. So we're seeing this man who's wounded. His comrades are very affected by it. But then we see these two shady, sketchy guys who might be on somebody else's payroll go back into the mine. They find the opal that is the underlying theme of this entire movie as far as a substance is concerned. But the cool thing about it is that the camera goes really close in on the beauty of this opal, and we start going into the different facets and layers of this uncut gem.
That's the name of the
And
movie.
oh my God, who would have thought? But we go in to the many facets of this uncut gem until it finally pans out to Howard having a colonoscopy. And as a 51-year-old woman, I can say that I've had one of those. It's
Cool.
not a pleasant experience.
Oh.
And so we're really setting up the nature of the character of Howard and so many other things that this movie embodies. But what's super cool is that there's this imagery that's happening as it pans out and we see that him getting this colonoscopy, it's such a metaphor for everything that espouses Howard and his character. He is, like Jeremy said earlier, he is this driven guy who's trying to provide for not only his family, but let me add to what you said earlier, Jeremy, but his mistress, Julia. So he's trying to provide for all of these separate households, provide for his books, provide for all of the debt that he owes. But the symbolism behind that opal turning into his colon is, boom, a slap in the face. Here is Howard, and we already know that his life is a shit show. It is a shit show. Later down, a couple of scenes later, he's trying to show Kevin Garnett. It's a jewel, right? Okay, I'm reaching. Raine would say that. But he's trying to show Kevin Garnett and his entourage all these awesome pieces of jewelry that he has. He's got the Furbies moving its eyes, talking about how he started that shit. Kevin's not interested. The opal comes in. Eventually, he tells Kevin Garnett that they say you can see the whole world in opals, or the whole universe in opals. And again, another metaphor for how shitty Howard's life is. And it just keeps going on and on and on. The theme of this really big-hearted guy who's just trying to do the right thing by everybody around him, family, mistress, business, his books, all of this. He's trying to do the right thing. He's a big-hearted guy, but he just keeps missing the mark. And as an audience, we feel sorry for this guy. We feel sorry for him. Like, we want him to win, but he keeps making shitty choices one after the other, but it doesn't keep us from loving him. Big Jew personality. And there's a lot of interactions between him and his family members and his employees that make us love him. But at the end of it all, and we'll talk about the ending later, we see how that serves him. Great likable character, shitty situation.
Well, and we should also mention that from the opening sequence, we cut to 2 years later without even knowing we cut to 2 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's taken this long for him to get the opal to him.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So, I remember hearing something about the movie. It's funny that you would say that Howard is a very likable character. I remember reading somewhere, or maybe hearing it from someone, saying that they actually didn't like Howard, which I could see. I mean,
that's because they have no point of reference to loving someone who's got an addiction.
Well, I mean, we see that in his wife, played by, Elsa.
Mm-hmm. Elsa. Is that all you've got to say about that? Elsa?
Yeah. That's, and
Gina Menzel.
Sure, and and
Indina
John
Menzel.
Travolta, pronounced her name wrong at the Oscars.
How did he say it?
She was she gave a surprising performance. I thought it was great. I thought she was great.
Oh yeah,
She was spot on.
Something that
it's Indina, right?
Indina, I think it's Indina Menzel. I don't know.
Indina Menzel.
But John said something not that.
So
well, he's an old guy. He had to shave his head.
With Howard, so in the director's commentary, they talk about Howard is the uncut gem that they're referring to. He is a character that is meant to be loved despite of the flaws, right? He is, again, nothing he is doing is out of malice. He is doing everything he can to do the right thing, as you were saying. And it's just the choices he makes to do the right thing is never the right one.
Not a lot of common sense in this guy.
Even when it pans out for him, it wasn't the right call.
As we see in the ending.
Well, yeah, and even before that, when he wins that first bet, and you think that finally he can pay off these guys, but they went and stopped the bet shortly after he made it, and so he didn't win because he didn't get the money. Right, the bet was terminated. Right, so. But I really liked that they were like, from the opal to the colonoscopy, we're insinuating that really the uncut gem isn't this opal, it's Howard. Howard is meant to be this personification of an uncut gem.
Sure. And that theme goes from those opening shots where we have our opening credits running to the very end. So, Raine, that's where I disagree with you. I mean, I think the tension is really set from that very beginning shot all the way to the end of it all.
Well, I just meant like I wasn't. So in in the intro, I said about Good Time. Good Time ramps up at a 10 already, and then it escalates to an 11 and then a 12. Jeremy, I think you would agree with me on that.
Oh, what?
Now I did automatically feel the tension, but I wasn't like, my heart wasn't already racing. Sure. Which the Safdies are fantastic at. Good Time is it's
absolutely agree.
It's anything but a good time, but I didn't feel my heart start racing until the last 45, because the whole time I was sitting there, I was literally like rubbing my face because I was just like, Howard,
stop.
Just take the W. You won, take it. Like,
which
what
is
are
good,
you doing?
because it means you're never going to be a gambling addict because you can't handle it.
Yeah. Oh, right. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Jeremy, as the mother here, he's a merchandise addict. He always has been. I created a monster when I put him in front of it and Cats when he was very tender, and I'm sure people would be like, what kind of parent are you for doing this to him? Well, but I put him in front of it when he was like 4.
It's right there.
I don't know. And I created this monster. So,
So in regards with the tension, so the Safdies, as you said, have almost created a long form genre. So what I mean by that is there will be moments in film and moments in television, most recently in The Bear, if anyone hasn't seen Jeremy Allen White in The Bear, which is phenomenal. There are moments in there where the tension is so high. There are 7 things happening at once. Everybody's talking at the same time, but then it's over, right?
Mm.
The Safdies have created their own sort of high tension drama genre where we take that and we extend it a length of a film, where yes, there might be a few moments of let's catch our breath, but not for very long.
But only to be shoved right back into it.
Right. And I think it's only if you're in it too long, you become numb to it. So you need to have these moments of slow, or these moments of normalcy, and then we'll jump you right back. You need to remember what it was like beforehand to jump you right back into it, right? And they perfected this. And I again, in Good Time, I think the tension and those moments were expanded even longer. I think that's what Raine is talking about, where the moments of levity and of catching our breath are very few and further between in Good Time. Where here, again, the story's different, right? So in Good Time, which we'll probably do an episode on later, but
100%
is literally someone just trying to escape, right? Which is very stressful. Here, it's moments of making bad decisions and living with these bad decisions and having those chickens come to roost, and then we slow. And then we forgot about this one, and now it's back up. And okay, and we're back up, right? So one of the main ones and I just love how the Safdies have perfected the art of establishing. We are establishing Kevin Garnett is leaning on the glass. Okay, cool. We're going to keep reminding you that he's leaning on the glass. But while we're doing that, there are about 7 people too many in this room. And so we got to get people out of the way. Okay, now we got to take his earrings. Okay, now we're showing him these other things. Okay, oh wait, don't lean on the glass. Okay, now I'm going to tell you the story about the opal. Here, hold the opal. Now, okay, don't lean on the glass. Okay, now we're going to go over here. Now Lakeith is trying to do something with watches. Okay, hey, remember, don't lean on the glass. Okay, here we go. And then it breaks, right? And the way the Safdies have, in that scene in particular, which I think is extremely high tension, is there's 7 things happening at once, but we know everything that's happening, which is why we're so stressed out, because we feel as if we, the audience, has to keep track of those things as well. And not only does Howard have to keep track because, it's his place and he has put himself in charge of managing all of these things, but so are we, the audience. And so there are lots of examples of that in the movie, but this is, I think, one of the main ones. And of course, the fun fact is they didn't tell him when they were going to blow the glass, and so they just did it. And so everyone's like, whoa!
They didn't tell Garnett when they were going to blow the glass.
No, they knew it was going to happen, but they didn't know when.
So his reaction was genuine then.
Yeah.
Right on. I didn't know that.
And of course that flash of moments from his life and the pictures from Kevin Garnett's real childhood and his life, that was genius. It was something I didn't expect, right? Because yes, this is a real person's fictional story, but we're adding more realism to it and apparently he doesn't have very many photos of himself as a child, so that took a while. But anyway, so the tension. I'll have you talk now.
Yeah, and what's funny is I really, I guess I didn't feel the tension that much in that scene, because that's kind of what it's like at work sometimes, especially being a manager, is I'm having to, when the store has a lot of people in, I'm like, all right, like, we're working on this, but then we need to do that. And then this guy's on the phone, so I guess I felt kind of at home with that tension, so I didn't pick up on it.
Can I argue with you for a minute, Raine? So I think for you and I, to circle back to that level of tension that you're comfortable with, I feel like that maybe you and I are more comfortable with it. I think it's, let me back up. So I think that level of tension is probably there from the very beginning, and understand that I took a film analysis class. And so I tend to look at everything, through this microscope where I can see the symbolism coming in from the very beginning. That sounds super arrogant, but it's not. It's just kind of like watching a movie with my producer husband, how he sees, oh, that's going to cost a lot of insurance, and that's going to be this, and that's costing this. But I'm wondering if maybe your comfort level isn't so much as an adult working as a manager in retail, but just because of maybe your upbringing. Um, like I said before, no disrespect to anybody that we may know who has an addiction, but you kind of came up in that environment. And then I played the role as a person who wanted to buffer you from that. So maybe for me, I'm able to see the tension from the very beginning because I recognize that in my being. You are so accustomed to it that maybe you didn't pick up on it until it became super obvious. Now, again, I'm reaching, but to kind of put things into perspective through the everyman lens, that I think that one of the reasons why we're so in love, and love's not right, in love with Howard, or what we perceive Howard to be, is because there's some level, I think, of relatability there for the average audience member.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's a piece of him that we can all relate to as audience goers. Maybe we don't have an addiction, but maybe we know somebody who does, or we know somebody who knows somebody, or maybe we've just been spun out in some sort of way. You know what I mean? I mean, like maybe he's just an approachable guy from a real life perspective based on our own experience.
I mean, maybe. I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, life imitates art, or art imitates life. So I mean, I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, I don't. Again, kind of going back to everything, I did pick up on the tension, but it wasn't making me feel anxious. But again, what was making me feel anxious is all the decisions that Howard subsequently makes throughout the movie.
Dude, when he pawns Garnett's ring,
Immediately, oh,
like, what are you doing, buddy?
I know, that was just supposed to be, you're holding that while he plays with the fucking opal in his pocket. Oh my God.
He found it as an immediate way to make money, right? Absolutely. He's like, okay. And of course, he has so much confidence. Where it comes from, I don't know. But he's just like, I'm confident that I can pawn this. And well, because he saw how the opal affected Garnett. So he goes, if I pawn this, get some cash, make a bet on him winning tonight, I'm good. And then I can get the ring back. He's none the wiser, and I've made money,
Yeah, and he's paid his jeweler friends.
Which I can pay to Arlo.
Right. It's what I assumed all the tags on his shirt were for. The director said that he's just throwing stuff on and he's not even realizing there are tags. I saw it as I can wear it once and go return it, make my money back.
Exactly.
That's what I
agree with that.
He's just always finding a quick way to either save money, make money, whatever. Right.
Yes. I agree with that.
But dude, yeah, when he pawns that ring, Jesus Christ. I'm like, are you out of your mind, man?
Yeah. Kevin Garnett's gonna beat the shit out of you.
Rightfully so.
And what was that quote? The quote that was in that whole entire scene. He says, "So look, let's fucking bet on this."
Yeah.
Like, let's fucking bet on this.
Yeah. It's just constantly, trying to one up his last win or trying to get back to even, which is even worse.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In that realm of gambling.
I'd like to say before we move on to his next decision, we get that little line when he calls Arno about how they took a $20,000 watch from him and he wants that deducted from the 100. Apparently they never do that. So
well, and again, it's just like it was so chaotic. They probably didn't realize it. Then it could have happened or whatever. And again, he's just trying everything he can to get that number lower, right?
Yeah.
That he owes him.
Well, and maybe Raine's right. Maybe they never deducted it because as far as Arlo is concerned, you fucking owe me that. in
Right.
interest.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Jeremy. Anything to get that number lower.
Anything
I'm going
to
to
get that number lower.
scheme. I'm going to fucking scheme.
So, well, here let's press pause on his decision just for a second, and let's talk about his biggest debt, which is $100,000 to Arno, who I love how they reveal it's his brother-in-law.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, from the get-go, we've been hearing about this guy named Arno, and he owes him
I said Arlo
$100,000
earlier. My bad.
That's all good. And then, you know, Arno picks him up in a black SUV, very, very mafia style.
Yeah.
But then at the Passover, we learn that Arno is his brother-in-law. So
Love that whole series.
Yeah. So at some point, he asked his brother-in-law for $100,000, which, as we learn, he used to get the Opal smuggled to New York. But I guess unlike some of his other debts, Arno's like, well, I want that back immediately. And
usually it works.
Well,
I
right.
understand.
But it's like Arno didn't give him any time to try to say like, well, hey, I can not only pay you back, but I can give you more. And Arno just seemed like kind of like, well, I want that $100K back.
We'll get to it eventually, obviously, but Arno is also struggling with bad decision making because he's hired these guys. He is completely out of his realm by hiring these guys that he really shouldn't have. And I think he doesn't do a lot of research when he hires people, you know, because
no vetting. There's no vetting.
His downfall also, right?
Yeah.
So, and that guy's terrifying.
Oh yeah, Phil's the worst.
He's so scary. He's so unpredictable. And again, that's what makes that first Kevin Garnett interaction so hard to sit through. Is he's also arguing, he's slapping people, he's a tough guy, and he's bringing the anxiety level way up because he's bringing an energy in here that's very scary. Anyway, yeah, Arno.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that too, that Arno hires these thugs pretty much to intimidate Howard into giving him his money back, and it just escalates, which further drives home the point of we think that Howard's got money out from like the mafia or something, because they follow him pretty much the first half of the movie,
and then we learn that he's just his brother-in-law. You could never loan money to family. Yeah.
And it's which could probably also play into why Idina Menzel is leaving Howard too, because do you think she knows that he owes Arno $100,000?
She knows from the very beginning. What does she say? I think you are the most annoying person I have ever met.
Yeah.
By the way, one of the
and your annoying face.
One of the co-writers, his mom used to do that every Passover, is put on her bat mitzvah dress. By the way, that was something that he took from his own life. And the Sappies are Jewish as well, and so the Passover is extremely traditional. So is the thing that they're doing when Howard and his dad, Judd Hirsch, very exciting.
Yeah, love that dude.
We're sitting watching basketball, and the kids were looking for something. Apparently, that's a Jewish tradition, also in another offshoot of Judaism. It depends on how devout you are, I think, or how traditional you are. But I love that they bring in their own religious ideologies to Howard's character as a whole, because not only is he a gambler, a jeweler, a cheater, but he's also devout Jewish, right? He's devout to Judaism.
Well, I mean, but it's also a very Adam Sandler thing to do as well.
Yeah, he is.
Because we have to appreciate that Adam Sandler is Jewish.
Because most of his characters that he plays are typically Jewish.
Typically, I would assume, or at least if it's not explicitly said, I would just assume so.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
just assume so because we know Adam Sandler so well.
Yeah,
I-
except for
which is
Little
funny.
Nicky. I don't think
Oh.
Nicky is a Jewish character.
But again, that it's the perfect cast.
Worst movie ever.
Anyway, okay, so back to
Moving on.
So back to Howard's decisions. So he pawns Kevin Garnett's ring immediately. And I think his next decision that really amped up for me is his jumping to conclusions and attacking the Weeknd at the Weeknd's own party.
My God, I fucking love that. I love that. One of my favorite quotes in the whole entire film is when he references the Weeknd with Julia, and he's like, "Who's this guy?" And she's like, "It's the Weeknd." And he goes, "This guy looks stupid." He's not too far off. Like, I just love that. This guy looks stupid. And then he gets all this machismo just builds up and he's got to kick this guy's ass on his territory.
Terrible fight, by the way. Both of them just awful.
Okay.
Because you have a point of reference, because we know the Weeknd. Howard is a fictional character. Kevin Garnett is a real person. Like, how does this fictional character who's got so much fucking tension just built in to his whole entire being and universe, like every tiny fiber of his body?
Yeah,
So-
I thought that was, obviously they picked 2012. They were writing it at that time, but also they needed the games, right?
Sure.
And they needed, obviously for them they have to manipulate when Howard sees whatever, blah blah blah, that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not like they
And
can watch
who's
it live.
big?
And yeah, and so it's like having the Weeknd in there was an interesting choice, I thought.
Because, somebody said it. Oh, Julia said it. He's not a big deal. He's from Canada.
Oh,
So
yeah,
clearly,
because he hadn't done I don't think he had done Beauty and the Madness yet. And so he didn't really pop off. I mean, like he was popular, but like he didn't like
in Canada.
Yeah, he hadn't done Beauty Behind the Madness yet. So that wouldn't be for another 3 years. And then that's when he would skyrocket.
Apparently he was actually like that when he started, like kind of a punk, sort of like, I'm not performing until there's black lights up, so you better do it or else. Apparently he was like that. And so he had a lot of fun, according to the director's commentary, reverting back to when he was sort of an asshole.
Well, and also I'm sure he had to wear a wig.
And a total coke fiend.
Yeah.
I don't know. In 2019, wasn't he still wearing his hair like that in 2019?
He was on his he had started his after hours look, so growing out his afro and his beard, and but
stupid hair back on. That's nice.
Well, I mean, he did
That's
that.
why that guy looks stupid.
Yeah, I agree with Howard.
Looks stupid.
I mean, that's what he had to do for his Starboy album cycle. Anyway, we're not talking about the Weeknd.
Fucking love that album, by the way.
Oh yeah, Starboy's. I mean, granted,
amazing.
I think his albums just got better. I think after Dawn FM is amazing. Anyway,
dude, for a Gen Xer, Starboy was. Thank you, The Weeknd. Thank you.
Anyway, I think the reason why that scene in particular gives me such anxiety is kind of like what you said, Mom, is, we know who the Weeknd is. Howard's fictional, but I think also because it was also slightly surreal, because we know the Weeknd is a real person and Adam Sandler is playing this character. And so the Weeknd, just having to go in his mindset is like, okay, there's Adam Sandler. I have to pretend he's someone completely different, and I'm me.
But did you ever think that Adam Sandler was anything but Howard through the whole entire film?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
I mean, exactly.
After they filmed that fight scene, he said that he and Bob Barker have something in common,
You
Anyway.
eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
Well, that's what he says to Shooter McGavin.
Shoot
I
him again.
know.
No, he tells Bob Barker, the price is right.
You're right. The price is right, bitch.
No, let's make a deal. He's like, after this, I bet you get that all the time on Let's Make a Deal. And he's like, it's the price is right. And he's like, oh,
Bitch.
sorry.
Right.
Yeah, so I liked that we're really, with the fact that they were able to keep a phone with that original iOS, by the way, that was
Yeah. That Apple had not created iMessage yet.
keeping it grounded with because you have to maintain this level of it's 2012, right?
Mhm.
And as not long ago as that was, there's a lot of things that are very different.
Well, and there's no audience member that I've ever met, or when I say no audience member, I'm talking about myself. When I go see a movie, I do not want to be pulled out of the story by a continuity error
Oh, yeah.
ever. So
Is Good
Yes.
Time set in a specific time period, or is
I
it
think it's
is
the
it whenever?
present.
Oh,
The present,
Yeah.
right? The present, Jeremy?
let's find out.
Google it.
Okay.
But while Jeremy's Googling, but yeah, so that was when my anxiety first kind of ramped up. Because even though Julia was being very flirty, nothing did happen, and Howard doesn't want to hear it, and so, attacking the Weekend was his kind of like only response to that. And I was just like, bro, what are you doing?
It's modern day. Also,
Okay.
I would disagree that nothing happened. I mean, she was going for it.
Oh,
and-
no. Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah, she was.
Yeah, she was. Now,
she
whether or
was
not-
a non-discerning mistress.
whether or not she was doing it for Howard's benefit to get in good with the Weekend so we can come to the shop and blah 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 is sort of ambiguous. I think it's up to you to decide whether or not Julia was doing it for the good of Howard or for the good of herself. Who knows?
So I want to know, I'm curious, Jeremy, about what is your take on that whole entire interaction? Was she doing it for the good of Howard? I mean, knowing what we know about Julia through the entire film, and including the ending, which we haven't gotten to, but eventually, barring no more technical difficulties, we will eventually get to. What do you think?
Oh man, it's difficult because Julia's sort of like she's almost ride or die, right? Because for whatever reason, she's very much into Howard. I don't.
Well, and she even gets a tattoo with his name on her. So
it's true. So it's like maybe it was sort of a way for her to like have her cake and eat it too, do something nice for Howard with also like getting,
some altruistic.
Getting with the Weekend,
Yeah.
couldn't hurt also. I'd like to think she actually was doing it for Howard's benefit, getting good with
But
the
nothing goes right for this guy.
I know.
Nothing goes right for him. So why not this underbelly theme of even his mistress fucks around on him?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it makes sense. And and how that scene is shot too, it's very, it's very intimate. It's just Julia and the Weekend. And, so who knows?
Yeah, I'm still not sure.
and to bring up, that's a good point though, Raine. You're talking about the intimacy between the Weekend and Julia, but then the whole kind of like the fight scene is chaotic, which is what we've kind of come to understand by the midpoint in the movie, that is kind of Howard's life. There's not going to be a moment of respite once, to circle back to what Raine said, is like at the very beginning, and even you, Jeremy, you said at the very beginning, it was kind of a slow build up to tension, but by the midpoint of the movie, it is like Howard is nonstop, moving. But when this happens with Julia and the Weekend, it's an intimate interaction between those two characters. But then even the fight scene is a little bit more, it's chaotic, but it's contained.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I tend to reach. I tend to look for symbolism where there is no symbolism. When a cigar is just a cigar.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I said that the last time I was a guest on the podcast.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
pretty sure.
We'll have a
I feel-
range.
well, and I feel like we could
At
blame.
least I'm consistent.
I feel like we could blame Francis Ford Coppola about that. Making symbolism out of an orange.
You didn't do that on purpose. All right.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We digress.
So
Great movie, by the way.
I don't want to talk about. I'm probably jumping around, but the actual auction.
Yeah, no, I was actually going to say.
Okay, is that where we're going next?
Because that's the other decision he makes that gave me so much anxiety because, so we had the reveal of Arno as his brother-in-law, and his father-in-law Gooey, great name.
I love Gooey. I loved Gooey.
He's got some money. He's got some cash.
He does. From what I don't know, I don't even think they said what he did for a living, but
yeah,
he's a little mobster.
Whatever he is, he's successful. Whatever he is,
successful
to a certain extent. And auctions, depending on how what the stakes are pretty stressful anyway. But having this unfortunate evaluation of the opal, which of course at the beginning of the movie we were led to believe by Howard that it's over $1 million, right? This thing is
priceless,
right?
One of a kind find.
And it turns out these guys know what they're talking about, and they evaluated it at what, like $100,000, $150,000.
It's like $125,000 to $155,000.
And
you can't even buy a house for that, people.
And of course, I love Howard talking to Tilda Swinton, by the way.
Oh, really?
On the phone and pretending, it's that classic, it's almost like slapstick. It's that classic, like, okay, yeah, no, yeah, okay, so we'll go ahead and do it. And she's like, no, we're not going to do it. Quit. Stop. It's like, okay, cool. I really appreciate. He thought that was going to work, number one, which is pretty funny. It's alluding to his desperation, of course. But asking Gooey to bet against Kevin Garnett to up the price, holy shit, man, that gave me a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, because we're getting to really see this addiction. And poor little Howard, we just want him to win so bad. But there comes a time where we start like kind of backing off from that sympathy that we're having for him, when we start to realize this guy's fucked. He is fucked. He is so gone. There's no helping this guy.
Yeah, these weren't isolated incidents. These are continuous patterns.
Yeah, these are more and more and more layers of consequences because of his shitty choices.
Yeah, and the plan backfires, and what's funny is Gooey tells him beforehand, he's like, I'm not going to do that because what if I do outbid him, then I'm out this money. And Howard's like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And it happens. And and the whole time I was just like, oh my God, like Howard. And I think what ramps up is, as the theme we've been talking about of tension, we see Arno and his goons walk in as Gooey is betting against Kevin. And so you're like, oh my God, now Arno's going to see that Howard roped his father into his little schemes.
In-law.
Well, wait, Gooey is also Arno's father-in-law?
Yes.
No. Yeah, because it doesn't matter. What difference does it make?
Anyway.
No, what? That's right, because Arno is Dina's
brother, because he's that would mean Gooey is his father.
Oh.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's my bad. I again, let me interject where I need to just listen.
I like how even when someone speaks ill of someone that's causing Howard so much grief, Howard sticks up for them, right? So at Passover, Gooey talks shit about Arno, and he goes, "Hey man, it's he's trying to, or whatever, right? It's like, what?
Dude.
He's such a genuinely good guy that when his son goes up to the apartment with him to use the bathroom, he talks to the gentleman who I believe he's playing himself, by the way, that actor, and asks to use the restroom, and he says no. His son goes, "What an asshole!" And he goes, "Hey man, that guy's a legend. Relax."
Yeah.
Until the other guy who lets his son in was talking about Howard's mistress, and of course the son's like, "Hey man, what is he talking about? A hot chick living in your house? Is that mom?" He goes, "Well, that cokehead, don't listen to anything he says." Right? Until it's literally affecting his life, then he's just like,
because we're not gonna that guy's an addict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I just love that they've given Howard this trait of always, of never letting something affecting him affect the way he sees other people. Like it's almost like he sees that he's the one making these awful decisions and he's doing it to himself. They have nothing to do with it. It's my fault,
Yeah.
And so I guess that helps us with our empathy for Howard also. Howard's not oblivious to his part in these decision making.
Yeah. Okay. So after the auction, this is when my anxiety really started to ramp up, because the movie, really is ramping up with this, because everything's all about to come to a head. Arno is pretty much like, I want my money. You have till the end of the day. And Howard's like, hey, it's all good. Like, Gooey, I'm going to get you your 190 back. Kevin Garnett's going to come buy this. Arno, we're all good. And we think that everything is going to be over and we can finally breathe. Right. And then we see Howard make the worst decision that anyone in his position should have made. So Kevin finally buys the opal for $165,000. So by my math, if they actually didn't deduct the $20,000 watch that they took from him, he still made $65,000, which is what he could use to pay Gooey once he gives Gooey back his 190. But he decides, as he's showing Kevin all the bets, he decides, you know what, I'm gonna bet on you, Kevin.
I know.
And of course Kevin is even kind of like, man, you're crazy, don't do that. Which I loved.
Kevin, by the way, is portrayed in this case as very level-headed. He understands the game, meaning when he takes the opal the first time, Howard asks for collateral, he immediately takes off his ring and goes, okay, I understand. I'll be back later. There's no fighting it. There's no...
Well, because there's, I mean, at the end of the day, Kevin Garnett has zero skin in the game.
Yeah.
Like he's not hurting for money. He doesn't owe, and if he owes money to bookies, he's got some, which he doesn't. He's never going to bet against himself if he does owe money to books, which he doesn't. So he's a professional athlete, and we know how much money they make.
Yeah, I just love, and even
sorry.
no, even with when he understands how crazy Howard is, because he's just like, no, man, no, we're not going to bet right now. Are you crazy? He's almost like he's us at that moment. He's like, dude, you just got your money. What are you doing?
So
you just made $65,000.
I'm so interjecting and talking over the top of you, Jeremy, which is what I do. Ask your wife.
Wait, I'm the wife?
Raine, yes. Yeah. Everybody knows that, Raine.
Yeah, right.
So just to piggyback on that, one of my very favorite quotes is from Lakeith Stanfield, who plays Demaney, who is Howard's hype guy, his quasi assistant. Garnett is asking, who is this guy to you? Because of course, through that entire first opening scene, when Demani is like selling Howard walks off screen. Garnett is like, who is this guy to you? Is he your coach? And he goes, no, he's just a fucking crazy Jew. And there you go.
Yeah. Who knows?
Everything you need to know.
I would see a movie about how they became not friends, but I guess like partners in a way. That would be interesting.
Yeah, because
he, by the way, is amazing in everything. And he's amazing.
He does circle back though, just a couple of scenes later, and he's like all up in Howard's face, talking about how I'm going to take him elsewhere. I'm going to take him down the block. But I think at the end of the day, there was some misguided loyalty there. Like, I'm going to hype you, dude. I'm going to hype you because you turn me on with your addiction to the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And your high stakes. And I kind of like that. So yeah, I'm going to threaten you because apparently threats makes Howard work harder, faster, stronger. He's a Nike character. I don't know.
Nike personified.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this is when my anxiety was like at a 10, because he's got the money. He could, a normal person would.
You're talking about Garnett has the money.
No, Howard.
Okay.
He's
got the money to pay his debt. Copy.
He has the money to pay his debt, and Arno is there. He could literally just walk down and be like, "Hey, there's your $100K. Sorry for all the runaround. See you at the next family event. Movie over. Boom. Credits roll." But that's not this type of movie, So he makes the bet and has Julia go, because he knows that if he tries to leave right now, Arno and his goons are going to stop him. So he has Julia go and place the bet. And
who does it willingly, even after she dumped him.
She didn't dump him. He dumped her. He tried to dump her, and then they reconciled. So, but yeah, my anxiety at this point was at a 10, because when he, and I do appreciate that Howard admits it. Like, yeah, I could have given you the money, but I'm going to give you so much more now. So I bet it all. And you're just like, oh my God, Howard, like,
why the fuck would you do that?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
But yeah, Jeremy, what were you feeling when you first saw that?
I mean, same, it's insane. It's ridiculous. Dude, take this half W, man. Like, don't, you know what I mean? It's fine. You're fine. Move on to something else, But what the insane thing to me, which in movies, I love hearing jargon that I don't understand in movies. It makes me feel dumb, but I like it because it's in The West Wing. It was all the all the White House jargon and the newsroom. It was, I guess it's mainly just Aaron Sorkin stuff, but in this case, it's gambling and gambling shit I don't understand at all. The thing that got me was he bet on the tip off, and I go, that's so random. Why would you do that? That's something I can comprehend. That I was like, that's insane. I think a more seasoned gambler would see this and also think the bet was insane. Like the statistics are way off to even do this bet and even come out as a winner, right? I mean, it's too crazy. So I liked that part of the scene. And of course, I love, again, what I said earlier about their masters at establishing things. The door. This is when the door comes into play, because the door is also a motive of anxiety in this film, where you can't open this door unless that one's closed, but you're stuck in this, glass box of emotion until he pushes the other button, and then you can, right? And then when they're having trouble, when Garnett brings the gym back and then they're stuck in there, and then, that sort of heightened anxiety in them trying to open the door. Now we have the door working in Howard's favor by keeping these guys in there, right? When Arno and the goons come in. And I
he's
love
mocking them, and he's mocking them through the inside door.
when that filer drops and you can see, there it is. Now he can finally see this through, and have them not
understand,
only stuck, but in his mind, yes, in his mind, he goes, finally, I can reason with them, I can get them to understand, maybe jab them a little bit in the process, and then we'll be done, and this will be over, right?
Which is all he wants to do, I think. I think at that point, so much shit has gone wrong. And as an audience member, you're only looking at a snapshot of Howard's life.
Mm-hmm.
So you can only assume that everything previous to this has been a shit show. And so we've been privy to seeing this tiny snapshot of Howard's life, and then we're finally getting to the place where shit might pan out for him. And so from Howard's perspective, of course he's going to fucking jab him. He's going to poke him, poking the bear. Because he feels like he's owed that.
Mm-hmm.
He does. I agree.
Yeah. And man, it's just, and then of course, that you got goons after Julia, because they figured out where he sent her. And it's,
by the way, that guy stole the show for me.
A Wayne,
long hair sunglass guy. Love that guy.
Yeah.
That's my favorite guy in the whole movie right there.
Very B movie of you.
I know. He's so good.
Moose Plug guy.
Don't you bring that shite into this.
Yeah. Wayne was cracking me up. And the fact that they took the time to give him a name, I love too.
Yeah.
But this whole part, my anxiety was at a 10, and I was just like, this needs to stop. Something needs to go right. And then of course, the Safdies keep cutting back to Arno and his goons, sweating profusely. And so that made me I was even sweating, because I'm like,
right.
God, that, and then Arno smokes, which probably made that smell so much worse in there.
I did think
with
about
the sweat and the cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
That actor took up smoking again just for that, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, he had quit. And he goes, what, for you guys, I'll do it again.
For you guys, I'll get the lung cancer.
I'll do it. That's not a big deal.
I'll do it. I mean, come on.
By the way, New York accents.
For you Safdies.
My favorite thing is that's why I love Dog Day Afternoon. This is why I love Goodfellas. This is why I love anything Scorsese, is hearing people with really thick New York, Brooklyn accents. It's amazing.
Legitimate.
It's one of my favorites.
Legitimate accents.
Yeah.
Mine is just like this.
No, you nailed it.
Amalgamation.
But anyway, and then it starts to kind of go Howard's way, because Arno is finally noticing, like, hey, I think he's onto something here.
Yeah.
And and Arno's paying a little bit more attention to the game, and he's like, I think Howard might have it. Which is so odd, because the whole movie, Arno is seen as, I just want my money back. That's all I want, is my money back.
Well,
and now
money,
he's like,
man. Give him my money.
And for the first time, truly, really, since as we kind of talked about, the bet that he thought he won like a ton of money on was stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Howard actually wins over, what is it, like $1.2 million?
Just something like that. It was
a whole lot of money. Enough money to pay off. Sorry, Jeremy, I'm talking over the top of you. That's what I do. Enough money to pay off his debts,
and then some,
and get out on top. Yeah, exactly. So that he can use that money to go ahead and gamble that away.
Yeah.
And basically keep himself in the same fucking situation he's in.
Yeah. But to everyone's shock, that's not what happens. Mom, would you like to take this one?
Damn! What the fuck just happened? No! So we're seeing this point where where shit is finally starting to shake loose for this guy, who we have this love-hate relationship for. Like, we know that this guy's got a good heart. We know that all of his intentions are geared toward being good intentions. He just makes really shitty choices. And at the very fucking end, when things are shaking loose, and the guys are in the glass box, and he's poking a little bit, poking the bear comes out full force. And right when we see a good ending for this guy, boom, shot in the head. Just that quick. And we're like, what the fuck just happened? For me, I ugly cried for Howard. I mean, I was like, I have spent 2 hours of my fucking life so tense. My oh God, what's the fucking, come on, help me.
That's
no, the hormone that is released when you're stressed. What's
stress, I don't know, but you finally get a little bit of serotonin when he wins, right?
Yeah, but then there's this level of
adrenaline,
whatever the hormones. No, not adrenaline. Let's Google it real quick. So, Raine, I'm so glad that you can fucking
anyway.
edit.
Well, and so he lets them out of the cage because he thinks, like, you know what, they get it. They saw that I won.
I like her calling it a cage.
Yeah,
which it wasn't that
cortisol.
Sorry.
And Phil, we should mention Phil. The reason why Phil does it is because he's just had enough of Howard at this point.
He's had enough of this job, you know?
Yeah.
This whole shit with Howard, he hates it.
This probably was only supposed to be maybe like a 2-day job, and it's turned into like a week or however long it's been. Yeah.
4 days.
And he's done. And instead of, I mean, truthfully, I would have liked if the movie just ended with Howard in the hospital or something. But instead of just beating the shit out of him, he just decides, you know what, I'm done with you. I'm done with this job. And shot in your face. Instant kill.
But I think that's to circle back to what Jeremy said earlier about the Safdie brothers being able to build tension to the point where you are absolutely on the edge of your seat going, when is this going to end? Not necessarily for that character, but for me, like, how much more can I handle? I feel like it was the perfect ending, you know? And as I was stating earlier, that cortisol level that we're having, that we're experiencing from maybe the midway point all the way to the end, our cortisol levels are up so high that there's one of two endings that could work. It's either going to be a happy ending, which is bullshit at this point. Like, not if there had been a happy ending at the end of this film, we would have been so disappointed. It ended exactly the way it should have ended. We were relieved for ourselves, for Howard. He won all this money. He's not going to fuck it up by gambling all the money that he has in surplus away. This ending was the best relief for the audience and ultimately for Howard.
He literally went out on a high.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't, boom, shot in the head, instantly dead. Penultimate demise.
Yeah. I feel like he didn't even have time to even comprehend
what just happened. Yeah.
Yeah. How great he had it made or whatever.
Well, and then of course, it's not a happy ending for Arno, because Arno's trying to understand, like, what the hell that Phil just did. and he tries to get away, and Phil ends up killing him. And I guess to really, like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but I can't. To really, I guess, stick it to Howard, even though Phil just killed him. He and his buddy, steal all the jewelry as, I guess,
that they loot.
Recompense for this job that they're probably been done with.
Yeah, they probably weren't gonna. I mean, they just shot the guy who would pay them anyway. So
yeah, and I guess it kind of left me sort of anxious too, because it's like, well, what's going to happen with Julie now? Like, well,
that's what I loved about Julia's ending, is that she ends the movie not knowing what happened to Howard, which I really like. It's one of those things where, and I've talked about it before, it's where I know but they don't, right?
Right.
And her getting also this sort of quasi happy ending, at least for the moment, at least for the movie purposes, that she's also riding this high, that they've won all this money, and she helped them do it and all that stuff, and who knows what she's going to end up walking into once she goes back, and what's going to happen with the money, right? And what's going to happen with her is sort of ambiguous. But I love what the camera does. So when he gets shot, the camera immediately pans up as if to follow his chin, right? So his
POV,
and the mirrored ceiling is brilliant. And then the camera sort of does its, I mean, not its own thing. It's not like Children of Men or whatever, but it's less stiff. It more glides at that point. It's almost as if the camera was attached to Howard's, to Howard's life force or something, it was so deep into Howard's point of view that once that's gone, it's a different camera at that time. I don't know how else to describe it. I wish I went to college more, but that I just love it. I love that sort of move of it tipping up and then back down. It was brilliant.
Yeah. And then we
go back in his cheek. It's so cool.
Yeah, I love this bookend to the movie, that we go through the bullet wound and we get those crystalline layers like we did at the beginning of the movie, and then this beautiful shot of the sky that I really loved.
In the business, they call that a full circle.
Well, that's why I said bookend.
I know, baby, I know. I'm just
and a missed opportunity to play The Weeknd at the end of the movie, but that's fine.
Hey.
Missed opportunity, guys. Sorry, Safties. We almost had a perfect 100 on this one.
We almost did.
But so kind of going back to the ending, this is where I kind of felt the same with Good Time, where yes, our main character just died, but now we can breathe, because like what you're saying, Mom, it's finally over. Like now we have this weight
for
off
everybody.
Of us.
It's over.
Yeah. And we can just breathe now. And it's, I mean, yeah, I was real upset. I mean, I did read somewhere, I don't remember where, that Howard doesn't make it to the end, but I wasn't expecting it like that. And I was just like, man, like what a way to end this movie.
So having not seen the movie, whereas it's clear that Jeremy and I had seen it a couple of times, your first time watching it, Raine, when you got to the end and you saw that ending, I mean, you already kind of predicted that it wasn't, and you had read that Howard wasn't going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that you weren't expecting that end. What were you expecting? Like, what did you expect the ending to be, knowing that Howard wasn't going to make it?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't know if maybe he was just going to be horribly beat up to where he dies, or I wasn't expecting it was just going to be so instant.
Or maybe some ambiguous ending where he gets the shit kicked out of him and he camera, fade out, goes to black, and he's laying in a hospital bed on oxygen.
Yeah, or something like
Yeah, I wouldn't have liked that. I spoilers for The Departed, but it sort of had that feel to it.
Yeah.
With DiCaprio in the elevator, or right?
Yeah. That's perfect.
What is it? What?
That's a great parallel. Yeah, that's a great parallel, Jeremy. It's for real.
Yeah. Sidebar.
I'm sorry, Raine.
No, sorry, Mom. A sidebar. It's funny you mentioned The Departed. I remember, Mom, you watching that, and I was in my room playing a game, and I hear you screaming, "No, Billy!"
No! Yeah. Fucked me up, man.
And I was just like, what? Yeah. And then when I finally was able to see the movie, I kind of was like, no, Billy.
You see, I told you.
I know.
Yeah,
that one's ruthless.
That's all right.
I do want to shout out whoever came up with the image for this image, because he's touching where the bullet will later go on his cheek, right?
Yes.
Very similar to Donnie Darko at the end when Frank is touching his eye during Mad World.
See, and I was worried about myself reaching earlier with Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, no.
His last name being the same as a gem, Garnet, whatever.
Well, no, you're right. I mean, it's Garnet,
whatever. Pecan, tomato, whatever.
Potato.
So, exactly. So, can we talk a little bit about Adam Sandler and his performance, and what the expectation is from the Gen Pop? How many people were turned away or turned off by, I don't want to go see Uncut Gems. It's Adam Sandler. How good could it possibly be? Can we briefly touch before we close out on the guy?
Yeah. I remember hearing him promote the movie on some talk show, because he was like, I just finished Uncut Gems, the Safdies, they're great. And I'm like, whoa, like, wait, what? Like, wait, you did a movie that wasn't directed by Douglas Coogan or whoever has done like almost all of Adam's movies? And I'm like,
or
what is this?
Madison, what is it?
Happy Madison.
Happy Madison Productions.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, what is this movie? And I looked it up on IMDb, and all they had was that poster, the one on the Blu-ray box art. And I'm like, okay. Like, what is this? And then I remember seeing the first trailer, and I was like, oh, this is going to be something special. I could just tell that this was, of course, it took me forever to see the movie, but I was like, this is going to be, I don't think people are ready for this movie. And I remember hearing, because I was working at Best Buy at the time when that movie was announced, and I remember hearing a lot of people talk about like, no, I'm not going to go see it. It's Adam Sandler. Like, he hasn't done a good movie since, for some reason, a lot of people were using Mr. Deeds as like the bar.
I couldn't call that.
There you go. There's the gold standard of Adam Sandler films. No, it's always going to be Happy Gilmore, you dumb sons of bitches.
Hey, Mom, you kind of cut out a little bit there. I think you lost your audio.
I said it's all.
Or it might have been me. I think it was me. Hang on. But anyway,
Sandler, I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Like, I listen, again, not being Gen Pop, I knew Sandler could do it. I was like, that's not going to be a problem. If nothing else, it'll bring some sort of interesting level to this character in this film where, you know, Robert Pattinson and is it Benny who's in?
Yeah, it was Benny.
You know, it'll bring something a little different, and hopefully it'll be just as crazy, is what I was hoping. And it was. I mean, it was just as nuts, and it was, you know what I mean? It was. I'm glad that they were sticking with this sort of subgenre, and I'm hoping they continue to do so. I don't know what they're doing next, but yeah, Adam Sandler, man, I know it's weird because I think my parents are sort of this. My parents are really like Adam Sandler, so that's. But I think they would think the same thing. They would be like, I don't want to, you know.
And how? And what generation are your parents? They're boomers, right?
Are they? Oh, they're not that old, are they?
I think
they may be. They're an in-betweener, I think.
Between boomer and Gen Xer?
No, I think they're in.
Okay.
I think they're in between.
So let's keep in mind right now, I'm a Gen Xer, straight up, 1971. Adam Sandler is a Gen Xer. His humor, as far as who he is as a stand-up comedian, he touches me. He touches me. I relate to him so much. His irreverent, man-child, potty humor is intelligent to me. I mean, I'll be honest. Raine exposes me to a lot of millennial type humor, and some of it I can appreciate, and most of it I'm kind of like, what? This is not smart. My opinion, humans your age see it differently. As a Gen Xer, I can really love Adam Sandler for every part of who he is, as far as a stand-up comedian, an actor, even though most of his films would be panned by any intelligent adult human being, his music. But I love him. And so because of that, when he's given the right material, I think that a lot of people in my generation, in past generations, and I don't know so much about generations now, millennials, Gen Z, maybe you guys appreciate him for exactly who he is, but he's super transparent as a performer, right? He's an entertainer, always entertained me. But when he's given the right kind of dramatic material, I was saying a little bit earlier, way earlier, when we first started talking about that same ability that Robin Williams was able to do. I mean, he was out there and he was able to bring it in, and he got an Academy Award for it. I feel like it's in the future for Adam Sandler, but I love the fact that Adam Sandler will never compromise. Like, I'm going to show you, I've got these chops, I've got this range, but the whole of who I am is this irreverent, potty, man-child kind of humor. He's just approachable as a performer. And even though he was snubbed in the Academy, that film didn't get a fucking single nod, which is bullshit. Academy, if you're watching, fuck you, Goomba. He didn't get a Golden Globe. However, he did get Best Male Lead from the Independent Spirit Awards. So I'm starting to think, hey, that's right in his fucking vein. Because Adam Sandler has never been the guy that's going to fit into the mold. So why not the Independent Spirit Awards? Let's make that the new Academy. So we can watch guys like Adam Sandler and other performers coming in after him rise up to their potential and get the nods that they fucking deserve. And as a sidebar, don't forget that the kiddies love him. I mean, over the course of the last 10 years, he's won 10 Kids' Choice Awards. And that means something, right?
Yeah, of course. Getting some sort of recognition, you know. Um,
He also won 3 Grammy Awards for his original off-brand music. So
I haven't, especially this year. I just completely gave up on the Academy Awards. I didn't watch it at all. It used to be something I would look forward to and watch it every year, and now I'm just like, oh, you know, I don't need to see any of that because most of the time they pick movies I don't care for anyway, or think that, you know, they always miss out on the really good stuff. So, a la no nod for Ghost Story or no nod for Green Knight or Tragedy Macbeth.
I know Green Knight.
Yeah.
Well, we are a little bit of a clique in that Academy, aren't we?
I want to add on something, and before we wrap up, to my mom's point, I was listening to the A24 podcast with the Safdies and Paul Thomas Anderson, and what you just said, Mom, about giving Adam the right material is exactly what Paul Thomas Anderson said. You know, with working with Adam on Punch Drunk Love, he was like, you know, because I think even Adam told him, like, you know, this script is awesome, and I think the Safdies said the same thing. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to piggyback on that real quick. But so are we ready to wrap up? Yeah. So to go back to what I thought of it first time viewing, I thought it was awesome. I'm so glad I own it on 2 different versions, the Criterion 4K version and the Blu-ray version.
Again, Criterion, I will say anything you want.
Don't make me censor you again.
You can listen, whatever agenda you want me to push, I'll do it.
Somebody's a whore.
I will do it. Okay. We need a sponsor, and you can be the first one. Wow.
I know. I was literally just saying, how awesome would it be if we got sponsored by them? They flew us out to New York. We could get every movie we ever wanted on our wish list. Like, I could take all those Criterion movies off my Amazon wish list because I would have them all.
Just wait. By the way, that Amazon wish list pings me every single time he adds.
Oh, it must be constant.
Not all the time. Only if it's like only if it's one I really want. Like Drive My Car. Can't wait for that one.
Well, Drive My Car's good. Hey, Raine, didn't you and your brother always said that mom meant made of money?
That's funny.
No.
I'm just joshing.
I mean, my Jordan might think that, but
yeah, Jordan definitely does.
But anyway, yeah. So I loved it. It's intense. But you know, I can't wait to see what the Safdies do next.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Agreed.
Hopefully they continue this trend. I want to see more of these. No one else is doing it like this. So it's nice to have something that, you know, like, I feel like watching something to make me want to pull my hair out and, you know, like be like grinding my teeth.
Because we need more of that.
Yeah.
We need more of that tension. But yeah, I agree. I mean, the Safdie brothers they're geniuses at creating a feel good kind of tension.
I agree.
Yeah. I've got one of their other movies on my wish list called Daddy Long Legs, which is, I think,
Shut the fuck up. I hate spiders.
No, it's not about spiders. I understand what you mean.
Please tell me it's not about spiders.
No, it's
about arachnophobia damn near killed me.
I believe it's about a single father and just the trials and tribulations he goes through to make sure his kids are taken care of. I don't know, but it looks great. It's from like 2006. But anyway, so Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
What are we going to be talking about next week, my guy?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I thought you never would. You are going to be so excited. Next week, we are discussing the beginning of a movement. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a celebration.
Oh, yes.
95. It is, I'm very excited. I've never seen it. Thank you again, Criterion, for releasing it physically.
There it is.
I can't wait. So Thomas Vinterberg and in his group of friends, the first outing for this new way of filmmaking and this new way of independent filmmaking and digital filmmaking, which is new at this time. So it's not going to look good.
That's
but
all right.
It's gonna be good. So if you want an example of this, check out, frankly, 28 Days Later. That was shot on digital and it was a little too early. So it looks bad, but it is good. So very exciting.
Oh man.
Kind of like Mission Impossible 1 versus Mission Impossible 6.
Or 100 or whichever one they're on now.
As long as, I'm telling you, one of these days, he's going to kill himself.
And then he'll be
himself.
a legend. He'll be a god in the.
He'll be a martyr. He'll be
That's
a
right.
martyr for all film industry.
That's right.
Anyway, yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited, dude. Because you know, I love that the Criterion is clear with a red booklet and it breaks down the rules that him, Lars von Trier, and who else? There was one other director.
Lars is my favorite one, obviously. I was just watching
You spoke to me. You told me about this way back, didn't you, Raine?
Yes, when I got my
About this
copy
initiative?
Yeah, when I got my copy and
Yeah.
the Dogma
Yeah.
95. Because then
Fuck
of course we'll talk about it when we actually do the episode, but you know how this movement was so inspirational that it then became
guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah, that then ended up becoming a genre, and it had to die out. It's really interesting. The history of it is really interesting.
Kind of like eventually the Safdie brothers will die out.
Nah.
Never.
Hope not.
Never.
Here's hoping.
Never.
Here's hoping
never.
not.
All righty, everyone. Well,
Guys, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me yet again.
You are very welcome, Mom. We love having you. We hope everyone enjoyed Uncut Gems, and we will see you next week for the celebration.